Hey, 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 how is it going? It's another tasty, tasty, tasty Tuesday. I'm so thirsty. Hopefully, you're thirsty too. And we are going to have a little bit of a different show tonight, which is always interesting and fun to do. Um, we usually dabble in scotch, but on occasion, I've been known to have a little fun with some Japanese whiskey too. I've been around the block a few with some decent ones, really, really good ones, and not so good ones that I've really surprised me that we'll get into here in a little while. But we'll be looking at an Iwa 45 Japanese. It's a 45% deal. That should be fun. And we also have a Fukano Single Cask 12-year rice whiskey at 43.1%. So let's have a little pour so that when Malt gets here, it's been at least out for a little bit. Got to give it a little bit of oxygen. Not a whole lot. This is not an this first one I believe is NAS. Let me see. Also, let's get Malt his invite at the same time here. Good to see you there, Christopher David and Loch Ness. I saw you guys pop in on the side when I was sending Malt his invite, but yeah, hopefully you guys have got a Japanese whiskey to maybe dabble in on the side with us. If you don't, get something a Scotch that's maybe a Highland. They typically, if someone asks me, what does a Japanese whiskey represent when it comes to if you measure it up with a Scotch, definitely not an Isla. They're not known for using peat that I know of. But they do have some great delicate flavors, and we're talking everything from fruit to florals to herbs, and savory minerality, bitterness. I mean, there's all sorts of little nuances, but they usually are quite delicate, very fragrant in sweet, light ways. But I have had some, and Hibiki 21 is a good representation of this, where it can pack a boatload of fruit and florals in pretty high intensity. So, in a good way. Good to see you there, Daniel. Konnichiwa. Aloha to Juan in Hawaii. Donner Pass, good to see you, man. Evening the trooper out in the oil rig. Ben, man, you guys are pouring in. Yes, Uranus. Uranus is an important planet and city. They make great fudge in Uranus, Missouri. You should check out the fudge, man. Pearl Yamazaki 12. That's a funny thing. Like I've been lucky enough to dabble in Nika, in some Hibiki, Takasuru, Kaio, Yochi, Ichibu. I mean, I have never had a Yamazaki. Sorry, I've never had a Yamazaki, so I need to get my hands on something. Akushu 12 lightly peated. Interesting. I never tried a peated Japanese whiskey. I didn't know they even had them. Do more research, I guess. I own one Japanese whiskey, and I doubt it's Japanese. Oh man, that's pretty crazy. Good to see you, Single Cask. If you want great Japanese whiskey, get an independent cask strength bottle of Benefice. You've lost it, man. Oh man, you guys are crazy. Word up, Hammer. We're working together to give Eric a housewarming bottle from the crew. He is moving from Philly to Chicago. Let's do something nice for him. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm sure he'll be happy to see that pop up. And speaking of pop ups,
Hey, how's it going?
you're not popping up, are you?
How are you, buddy?
We don't have any surprise pop ups or anything. What you got there? What, you just down in the sauce on the side? I see.
Oh, no, I the last drops of that sample. So
I hear you.
There were a few in there, and I felt like I would be disrespectful if I didn't taste it. How are you, man?
No, no, I'm pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to you do your Scorch review, and I was like thinking, man, it's weird because I was sipping right beside you, and the strangest thing happened. Like the first time I nosed it and tasted it, the first time I was getting nothing but strawberries and raspberries of all things, and
Oh,
then I sat down with you this time, and I'm doing it right along with you, and I didn't get any of that.
yeah, dude, it's good. I really enjoyed it. I mean, for whatever reason tonight it was landing with me with like a lot of chocolates and earthy tones, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, I was getting similar
Another
notes to you too.
strawberry. When you said strawberry, I was thinking to myself, like I was picking up like florals,
Yeah.
um, but I did notice that there was like, yeah, a bit of what you want to call it, like strawberry is definitely a way to describe it. Is what I'm.
Very creamy and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going with this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so crazy oily that I was surprised at how oily it was rather than being like waxy like a Klein leash, but it was still like a heavy, like on the viscous end, but it was so oily to me. It was weird.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I'm glad you enjoyed it though. It was
Yeah.
thankfully, no matter how you look at it, it's definitely a step up from the drum.
Oh yeah. I mean, no doubt. It'll be interesting, Telex, as you explore that bottle further,
Yeah.
kind of where it lands with you vis-a-vis. I'm thinking about the black, because if folks remember a couple weeks back, wow, maybe a couple months back, you and I both did a. I'm getting a little feedback. Is that on your end or is that on my end?
I'm not hearing anything right now. Anybody else hearing anything on their end? Sorry about if there's any audio issues.
Oh, I wonder if it's me. Oh, okay. Well, in any event, um, you and I were big fans. I'd say we were big fans. We were big fans of the Ardbeg Black, but not the limited release. The committee release, when we did them side by side, we were like, wow, what a difference. So I'll be
Huge.
curious. Yeah, this one, however, the more I've thought about it, I wonder if this will stand up a little bit more at lower ABV, just because of how heavy the cask influence of that bourbon note char is. Like, what I think was really lost in the black was the depth, and I think it was partially because it was more of a delicate cask it was in. I mean, I'm speculating here, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
maybe
oh yeah.
this one might hold up a little bit more, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's such an oily whiskey with a lot going on, and that the charredness is pretty intense. So maybe with a little less hotness, it might shine a little bit more. I mean, I have seen that happen before with some whiskeys. It's up and down when it comes to ABV issues.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
I'm getting everybody psyched for the Japanese whiskey that we're about to take a look at.
Well, let's make sure we're accurate, Telex. These are whiskeys from Japan, not Japanese whiskeys.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that shortly. But in the meantime, I got to ask, have you, as we always do to kick off our show, anything new in Telex's world since the last time we chatted?
I did pull the trigger on a couple interesting bottles. Well, one interesting, one maybe not so interesting, but great price at least. The first one I found was a distillery that you don't really hear much about at all. It's one of there's like 20 of them that you really rarely ever hear about. Usually they're used in blends, but I wanted to take a shot in the Ardmore, so I saw an Ardmore 20. As well as a Dalmore 18, which I've had before. It's at the lower end of the ABV that I prefer. It's like 43, but I figured I did enjoy it. I got it at a great price. It's not the 220 that you usually see it at. A
Yeah.
lot lower, almost half. So I thought, you know what, for that price, before I venture into the independent Dalmores that we all know and love, I'm going to just get one nice solid Dalmore bottle, and that's probably the one I'll pick. I could get a King Alexander, I know, for a similar, maybe a little bit higher price, but the 40% versus 43 and all the great
Yeah.
notes, it's like, why, right?
Right.
But that's it for right now. I mean, there's been comings and goings. I redid the entire wall back here. I took out all the Bunahaven,
Oh,
the Lafroigs, and the Kilkerrans and the Kilhomans and all that, and I put all the different distilleries here, and I'm going to bring it back on this side and maybe do some more specific Isla stuff that I'll still collect. But I wanted to get more of a kind of a spectrum across all of the different distilleries going on. So I'm
sure.
going to replace a few. There's a couple good ones in there, like the Elberfeld 20 exceptional cast we'll look at later on, and there's some oldies that I can't wait till they get a better option, like Scapa would be a good one to see. Maybe another, like a new 16 or something at some point.
Yeah,
But
definitely, man. Definitely.
what about
Yeah,
you?
I'm looking forward. I mean, speaking of your like rearrangel, at this time next week, if all goes well, I have an extra shelf that I'll be putting up, so I'll have a bit more of my stuff behind me for the shows, and I'm really looking forward to it. My new place in Chicago is going to have an office space, so I'm going to be able to set up the malt den.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's going to be even. It'll be nice. I'm really looking forward to it. As far as new whiskeys, obviously, I've been scraping the bottom of the penny jar to make all this happen. But I did get something, Telex, since the last time we talked. And folks may have seen me. I did a little impromptu live stream about this over the week, but I got the new Lagavulin 11-year-old Offerman edition. This is the second Offerman edition.
Oh, I didn't know they had another release. Interesting.
They do, and it is finished in Guinness beer casks.
Oh, I would have to pick me up some of that.
46%. It is showing up around the States pretty, yeah. I mean, here on the East Coast, I've seen it a lot of places, even Total Wine. 46%, 11-year-old Nick Offerman edition, all that, but it's got a 4-month finish in Guinness beer cask and Telex. I wouldn't be stepping on a line if I told you this is better than the first 11-year-old they put out. This is really good, man.
Yeah, the first one I was kind of indifferent with. I liked it. It took me some water and some time, like some oxidation, and it was a little like sparky. It was very woody, like a very woody whiskey.
Yeah.
And I love Guinness. I love the flavor of stout in general. So I'm really eager to see how Lagavulin does with this Guinness deal.
Yeah, you can see I put a little bit of a dent in this. The thing, Telex, and this is a great segue, because you sent me that sample of the Ardbeg Scorch, and what the Ardbeg Scorch's presentation is about borderline like a double matured bourbon barrel. Like, you're getting like that heavy chocolatey bourbon notes. This one brings the same thing to the table, man.
Wow.
A lot of heavy chocolate notes, earthy notes, all of this. I saw this. I thought, I'm like, this is going to be gimmicky. I was like you. I wasn't blown away by the 11. I thought it was fine. The first Offerman. This one's better.
Nice.
It's better.
I'm going to get me a bottle, definitely. Then.
My prelim score, man, is 375 on this one, bro.
Nice. Okay.
This is solid. You're going to like it. They did this right. I
always like to have a Lagavulin bottle like on the side anyway, for any good occasion. And I think I'm almost out of pretty much everything. So that will be a welcome entry to the party.
Yeah. And you remember, how last week when you and I were tasting that Lafroig 10 Sherry Oak, and, folks can go back and look at the replay if they want to hear our full experience with it. But, and maybe you let me know if this is a fair way to say it. You were a little put off by like how much of the sherry influence there was. Like it wasn't as complimentary. It wasn't as balanced. It was kind of over the top.
Well, I do like a strong sherry, even if there's like sulfuric notes and other things, as long as it's well balanced. This one was such a savory, spicy dram. There was very little
Yeah, yeah,
sweetness going
yeah.
on. I didn't get the sweetness that I expected, even with a dry Oloroso sherry. I still expect at least some sweetness. I don't know if that comes more with age, and maybe that's the problem, but it was definitely on the savory, spicy end for me rather than you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, like I found it to be like a little unbalanced as well. Maybe, partially for similar reasons. What I will say about this Guinness finished Lagavulin 11, they got it right.
Nice.
They got it right. Like I saw it and I was suspicious, man. I'm like, oh, come on now. Like, here we go. Like Guinness and Nick Offerman on the same bottle. Like, this is just a throwaway. Dude, it works. It's good. I'm bullish on this whiskey.
That's what it's all about. I
Yeah.
mean, we definitely don't want Diageo to put coloring and chill filtering and stuff in there. But if it tastes good, just like a lot of
Yeah.
some of those Flora and Fauna bottles I found out over the
Yeah.
years, like
Yeah.
the Blair Athol, the Ben Rennis, the Dollywayne, and some of those. Some of them are actually hidden gems. Some of them not so much. Like I would skip the Taninic and the Macnamore and
Yeah.
some of those. But some like the Linkwood and some of those are actually pretty damn good. We'll be taking a look at some of those later down the road too.
For sure. Well, Trooper asked what this is going for. So the MSRP I've seen is 99. However, I got this for 78.
Now
And
we're fucking talking.
even at Total Wine and other places here on the East Coast, this is in that 80, 85 range. So it's similar to what the other one was. It's cheaper than the 16. I won't lie, man. I think this is... It's not the 16. Okay, it's not as complex as the 16, but it's really enjoyable in its own right, and they did this proper. That's all I can really tell you at this point. So keep an eye out for it.
I was surprised. I was checking out Petite just in case to see if they had this new release of the 11, and I don't think they got it in yet, but it's definitely, I see some really good reviews on it already, so it should be, wow. If some of these prices are scary, the first link I clicked on was with Flaviar, and they wanted like it must be like the first release because they wanted like $350 for it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No,
$350?
No.
That's insane, man.
Do not pay over $90 for this, or I mean, definitely don't pay over $110 for this.
Isn't that the most craziest thing you've ever heard?
Dude, they're nuts. I mean, they gouge the hell out of people.
I mean, I've heard of secondary market prices, but geez, I mean, it's like a year old, and it's not even more than 12 years of age. Wow.
Yeah, hard pass at that price.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that later.
But, I mean, speaking of going to the other end of prices, we got two whiskeys from Japan that we're going to check out tonight. And Telex, if you're about ready, I can give you the tail of the tape on our first dram for the evening.
Yeah, and did you want to get to, we had that discussion about the Japanese whiskey versus whiskey from Japan.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that later or now?
So, Japanese whiskey, the term Japanese whiskey legally has been fraught with all sorts of controversy. What makes a Japanese whiskey, what doesn't? So finally, the Japanese single malt whiskey, or it's the Japanese Single and Spirits and Liquors Makers Association have put out conditions for what constitutes a Japanese whiskey circa April 1st of this year.
Wow. Okay.
These are now the official standards of what makes a Japanese whiskey. It must be fermented, distilled, and aged at a distillery in Japan. It must contain malted grain, which can be barley, wheat, or rye, but other non-malt cereals can also be included, which is important for the whiskey we're going to do later. The water must be extracted from Japan.
Wow. Okay.
The spirit must be aged at least 3 years, and it must be bottled in Japan.
Nice.
First whiskey we are looking at tonight is from a distillery called Shinsu Mars. They do a ton of stuff. We are looking at the Iwai 45. This whiskey It's unclear whether or not this meets all of the parameters of a Japanese whiskey. So what we can only say about this is that it is a whiskey from Japan.
Okay.
Iwai is a line out of the Mars Distillery. And the reason that I wanted to pour this one tonight is actually twofold. One, they for many years had a 40% whiskey, bought like what you want to call it, just the like absolute minimum. It was crap. They have a couple other special releases, whatever. I've not had them all. But this Iwai 45, the 45 is not 45 years old. This is a non-age statement whiskey. However, the 45 is that they boosted the ABV from 40 to 45%. And the theory behind this is that this whiskey is made for this is like similar to the Akintoshin bartender's whiskey. It's made for this is the Japanese whiskey you want to use, or whiskey from Japan you want to use to put into like mixed drinks. This is the bartender's friend.
Okay.
Dog bone style bottle. You will find this pretty much readily available in the United States in the $30 to $35 range.
Wow. Okay, that's very price
exactly
friendly. I should say.
Exactly. It is very price friendly, and it is 30 to 35 bucks. And again, 45% ABV. It's from it's a product of Japan. We can't necessarily say it's a Japanese whiskey because it may or may not meet all of those qualifications. This bottle was purchased before those rules came down, so I do not know. However, screw top, ex-bourbon casks, not clear what the age is, not clear about chill filtering, not clear about color. That is the tail of the tape on the Iwai 45. And again, I will say and stress this one point before we get into it. The regular Iwai that was originally released at 40% was pretty much universally panned because it was just edgy and whatever. Not a great dram. It is still on the market. However, this Iwai 45 for about $7 to $8 more, pretty readily available, becoming increasingly so. And as I think Telex and I will talk about relatively shortly here, a pretty damn good whiskey. So as we like to do in the first hour, we like to do with something that's very accessible. I couldn't think of anything more accessible than this, given the price for a whiskey from Japan. So with that, Telex, Iwai 45, let's dive in.
Yeah, the only thing I could find on the side when you were talking is that this one is available as of December 2020. It's pretty recent, a couple of years. That's pretty good. Like you said, 45 ABV. And I think it looks like it's pronounced EI, like the W's or Y. I'm not sure if that's
EI, something like that. Yeah.
EI. It's going to be tough for me to remember that because I'm used to remembering the BHs for Scottish and the MHs and all that. I usually don't think of W's being Y, so this is going to be interesting.
Well, it's EEYY, so I think it's EYE. But
oh wow,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to speak out of turn on that. EY or EI is probably correct. It is the spelling on the bottle, just for folks who haven't seen the label, that is what it looks like.
I really appreciate it, man. This is going to be a fun one to take a look at.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one, and again, something that's very accessible, price friendly, something that y'all can find, and let's there's a lot of mystique and hype around whiskeys from Japan and Japanese whiskeys in terms of their complexity, their delicateness, and their flavor profiles. And so Telex and I are going to check out two of them tonight. And I'll let you dive on in with the nose on this, brother.
I know they don't talk about the coloring, but it doesn't have a unbelievable color or anything. It's got like just a nice, golden amber color.
Yep.
It holds the shape pretty well on the surprisingly, for only 45%, it's got like, it's funny because it's got a wave where it drops the legs, but it also has a nice slow run of legs. It's got double legs basically. It's kind of interesting.
Better than having just one.
There you go. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be a medium mouth coat if I had to take a guess, but we'll see in a little bit. Let's have a nose. That's different. Okay. Huh. I got a combination. The first two waves right at the same time was like a nice fresh wood shaving chip with like a crisp, I just sliced an apple.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. Caramel apple was what I was going to say, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like a red delicious base apple, a very basic apple.
Yeah, it's got this like the sawdust, nice just like in a wood shop. Like I just started cutting a lot of wood. That's wild. It has a very fresh nose to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a bit of spice going on too. I'm trying to think of what is that. I can't tell if it's ginger, maybe.
I know what you're saying. To me, it's cinnamon. It's like cinnamon sugar.
It's got like a tart thing going on too.
And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There's like I don't want to say Japanese 5-spice because it's not as like, it doesn't have that chili powder kick, but it's close. You know what I'm talking about? And like the roundedness of those, where you get like allspice, nutmeg.
Yeah, it's funny. It's there, but it's extremely faint.
Yeah.
It'd probably be more prevalent with age. I'm not sure if these guys do more ages over time, but wow, for 30, 35 for the nose is actually pretty pleasant. I'm kind of making in my head, I'm making comparisons to like a Highland Park Magnus, which is another $30 to $35 whiskey that
sure.
You can kind of get, and it might have a little bit of a heathery peat type thing going on in it, but it's extremely mild. And this one,
I will mention just for the case, it doesn't say that this is a malt whiskey. I mean, this could be malt and grain. It's not blended. It literally just says 90 proof spirit.
The funny thing is, I'm not a huge grain fan on one hand. The other hand, this does have a grainy kind of nose, but it's not off-putting like a lot of grains tend to be for me, because unless I get like a well-aged grain whiskey, and I'm talking like over 30 years, 30 to 50 years, I usually don't like them very much unless we're hitting at least 30. I'm talking like Invergordon, North British, Cambus, Port Dundas, all the grains guys.
It doesn't have that sharp breadiness. Like I'm thinking of like a single grain teeling. Like it doesn't have that like sharp bready quality to it, like almost sourdough, which is what makes me think like it's much more malt.
Yeah, this has got more of like it doesn't have any vegetal stuff going on. It's very on the light fruit forward. Wow, what is that? A little bit of polish going on, a little not funk, but a little polish, not bad.
There's also a little ethanol. There's a little sharpness on the edge of this, a little ethanol. But I will say it is by no means overpowering or like distracting. It's just there.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually so far it's funny. I'm leaning towards this is more of either malt. I'm not getting like a corn base at all. There's no corn, I don't think, in here. I'm not sure about the rice, if they use rice in all Japanese type things. I mean, there could be, but I don't sense a rice thing going on either, like sake or nothing like that. It's definitely got like a more woody, it's definitely like that ex-bourbon thing is kicking on this one.
I agree. And let's bracket the conversation about rice for the second one, because I want to come back to that.
Okay. This is definitely oaky.
This is much more bourbon-y. Yeah.
Very oaky.
Have you had any Iwai or EIs, EIOs? Have you had the 45 in particular?
We're going to break it down as some Old McDonald here in a second.
There's a nice peach cobbler thing going on here, too, like a burnt sugar and peach.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's faint, but I definitely get exactly what you're talking
It's
about.
really prominent for me. I mean, it's like it's up to the level of that apple, but like a Del Monte fruit cup that you threw in the microwave and didn't explode your microwave with. I don't know. Anyways, let's taste it.
Yeah, that's a good.
Happy Tasty Tuesday, brother.
That was a great note at the end there. I was enjoying that. Okay. Oh wow, that is such a different palate, but not bad. Not in a bad way at all. That's interesting. Oh wow. Okay, I
Big,
got a huge wave of like cinnamon with apples, like honey nut like honey apple cinnamon Cheerios is kind of wow.
big flavor. Big flavor.
And no minerality, no like harshness.
Nice pepper hit at the end.
It does have a little bit of a black pepper on the end. Wow, it's actually it's got a nice sweetness to the. It's funny because the nose to me wasn't as sweet. It was more of like a woody nose, and then the taste to me is more on the sweeter side. Huh? What is that? That's like a nice. It's got like a nice cereal thing going on.
Do you pick up anything? I don't want to say oolong tea, but like, do you pick up any kind of like overbrewed black tea? Kind of like, you know how it's got that mealy sort of fullness, savory note to it.
Yeah, it's like it's. I usually like if I drink that type of tea, I usually drink chai. This is not that intense, but it definitely.
Yeah.
This is definitely more of like a cross between like if you took like an English breakfast tea and put like some cinnamon, like some more spicy
Or even
notes
like
to
a
it.
green tea, or even like a green tea. Like it's got some of that kind of depth, some of that kind of fermented funk to it, but it's not sharp.
That's interesting. It's funny because even though it's 45, it tastes a lot less hot to me than 45. It not to say it's like weak or anything. The flavors are there. The alcohol hitness to me is more around a 40 to 43. It doesn't really hit me as hard as what I would think a 45 would, which is interesting. I'm not sure if it's bad or good. It's
a lot of floral too. I mean, like a lot of floral, like in the what do I want to say? I mean, I was saying tea, but it's like jazz, jasmine. But you know what I'm saying? It's fragrant. It's got some of that Japanese whiskey fragrance to it.
It's funny, yeah. This is definitely more. Even though the sweetness on the palate is there, this has got a lot of more savory notes on the nose that are stewy.
Like a Morlock, like the mouth-watering kind of meatiness.
It's funny because it's got this meatiness, but it does not have any sourdough at all. It's more of like a good heavy broth. Like if you had
oh man,
like a dumpling soup, like a wonton soup.
Nail on the head, dude. Yes, that's the note of the night right there. You're absolutely right. It's like a beef broth.
Yeah.
Like it's got that meatiness, but it's not like a fresh cut of sirloin or sirloin.
It's this great umami flavor.
Yeah,
it's definitely it's funny because it's like a horseshoe. It's got a lot of sweetness, and then it comes around. It gives you a lot of umami flavors on the side, and it's actually pretty well balanced with that. That's surprising. Completely different than what I thought it was going to taste like, and not a bad way. Just completely different. That's so wild. It's deceptively sweet and savory. There's no. It's funny. The tartness I might have got on the nose, but I don't get any tartness on the palate. And there's this really nice butterscotchy ex-bourbon caramelization going on the finish.
Big time. You ever had like a hang on, I want to get this right. You ever had a coffee cake?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan.
There's some coffee cake action going on in this. It's got a little bit of that like robust, like that earthiness to it, but the sweetness of the crumble on top. A lot of coffee cake happened on this.
There is, man. This is.
Hey, it's a breakfast whiskey. If such a thing exists, I'd hate to encourage such a thing.
I think this is great for both. Like, I can imagine having this like early morning with like, breakfast, and like after dinner for like a snack, like instead of a port, you get something like this.
Yeah,
It's really surprisingly pretty good to me so far. I'm gonna add a little drop here.
yeah, I just did too.
Let's see what we get, but I'm glad that you took a chance on something like this because unless it's Nika or Hibiki or Ichibu or one of the big boys, it's really tough to take a gamble on some of these bottles when they exceed.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I know this is more of a pricey, easy one.
So many like of these whiskeys from Japan that are in the market. I mean, it's getting flooded with more and more as the demand for Japanese whiskey goes up. And this one, yeah, again, it's nominally designed to be a bartender's whiskey, which is reflected in the price and the upped ABV. But
I would tell people, hey, you might want to try this neat before you. I mean, I would agree would be a good mixer because it's very, I don't want to say sterile, but it's very like, I could see the potential for it to work with mixing drinks, but I'd hate to take away from the way it is just, natural.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's have a little. Ooh. Definitely definitely hotter, spicier on the nose.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I almost have to pull away. It's such a sharpness.
It's very much just powdered dry cinnamon. Ton of it. And allspice.
The apple and wood is sharper. It's like it's been grated. Like someone just started taking a knife and like started shaving it all off. It's more in your face. Huh.
So much cinnamon. Wow. I mean, I've never said the words cinnamon bomb.
Ooh.
But dude, it's a cinnamon bomb. You ever heard of the cinnamon challenge, where people eat the like spoonful of cinnamon and try to do the whole thing? Like, my God, I have never had a whiskey with water as cinnamon as this.
That is definitely wow. It reminds like I love to take cinnamon and put a boatload of it in my eggnog, and I like shake it until the whole top layer is covered with cinnamon, like a good 2 or 3 millimeter like coating of it, and then I'll drink it like the big gulp of the cinnamon at the same time with my eggnog. And this is what it reminds me of.
Dude, right?
Oh wow. I mean, not if you don't like a lot of cinnamon like I do, you might not like it as much. But I do really like this with the water even on the palate.
Yeah.
But I like a big mouthful of cinnamon for some reason.
Nothing wrong with that. We got to get Telex to do a cinnamon challenge video one of these days.
I made the mistake though. If you inhale it right when you're taking a sip, oh my. I paid for it for like a whole day, man. That was horrible.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
I'm trying to decide if I like this better neat or with water because I enjoy them both. But once you go to with the water, man, it just saturates your palate so much with cinnamon. I'm wondering if it takes it away. Maybe do that toward the end of the whole. If you're going to have a couple of drams, maybe do it at the very, very end first.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is again, I've never said this before. I don't think you probably have either. This is a cinnamon bomb, and not cinnamon red hot candy. Cinnamon like powdered dry cinnamon, like you would add to a mulled wine, or you would the cinnamon you get in the cinnamon sugar, like the stuff you buy that's powdered at Penzies, like that kind of thing.
if you do like this kind of thing, I will tell you a good hint. If you're looking for a spicy cinnamon bomb like that's just like overdrive, the drama dram I ever had for that was a Tamdu Debilia dram. If you ever see the Debilia dram, I was lucky enough to have the batch one. I know they have several batches since then. I think they're on like two or three right now. Tamdu does like and some of them might only be travel retail. I can't remember, but they're not easy to find. But look out for the Debilia dram because it is the spiciest whiskey I've ever had. But it also has not just the flavor of cinnamon like this one does. It's got lots of spicy and sweet cinnamon, and it's very much a spice bomb.
Yeah. No, dude, seriously. It's amazing how much this changed under. Well, maybe it's not. I mean, it's an NAS. I mean, you expect a lot of variation. I mean, and it's stark.
Mm.
I think the cinnamon really does come out a lot more in this, but not in a not. It's not quite a cinnamon roll. It's like it's not like you were at Cinnabon at the airport. It's not like quite that sweet with water. It's much more on the cinnamon side, but again, not a bad thing.
I think I prefer it neat until the very end, and then I would put a couple drops of, like when I knew after I had a dram or two and I was gonna move on to something else where I was done with the evening, I would definitely put a couple of drops at the end to get that crazy wave of cinnamon. But man, going back neat, it's still there. It's still nice, sweet, savory, cinnamony, spicy. This is surprisingly deceptively easy to drink, which I think can get a lot of people in trouble too on this one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm totally with you there. Well, I don't know, Telex. Are you almost in final thoughts mode here, or do you need a little more time?
No, I think I'm pretty much ready, man. This is a really surprising one. I'm just amazed by but what you get out of this. It is funny. This is a very divisive. Just looking at some other reviews on the side as I was thinking about how I was going to score this, I thought, am I crazy to think that this is much better than what I thought it would be? And there are some people that thought it was unremarkable, but for the price, that's the first thing that's surprising. But I don't even factor that into my own score. But that alone is surprising. This could actually, I think, garner more for what it is. No age in the craft, I know, is kind of iffy. I'm going to be kind of forgiving with that because the Japanese market is still kind of getting its feet under itself. They just put out their rules of what they want their Japanese, whiskey to always be. Yeah. I think it meets the needs. The only thing that I wish this had more of was, even though it does have a savoriness, sweetness, spicy balance, and it does have a somewhat decent mouth coat, I'd say medium, it doesn't have more of the bottom end to me is missing on this. But I think it's only because of the age. And I think if it was a little older, I think it would have more of a oomph factor that I'm missing from it. With all that said, though, man, the sweetness, the savoriness, the spiciness is there. I don't get any minerality, which actually is fine with me. I don't have to have that for the whiskey to be balanced. If it did have some other funky or tart things, then the minerality might come into play and be necessary. But with this, it's not. I love the finish is actually fairly long.
Yeah,
it's still going, man. It's definitely well above average to me. I'm not sure if I would go far as a 4. It's getting close, but I'm thinking that I'd love to see what these guys could do with a little more age, a little more ABV, get their craft a little more stable. That's not really their fault on that end, but the age and other things that they have to offer. I think they have a bunch of. Let me see something real fast, just out of curiosity. I think that these guys have been around for a little bit. Yeah, they got a traditional. They got some wine cast finishes. I don't see anything aged per se. It might be actually newer on the scene. Do you know when these guys started by chance?
The distillery reopened in 2011.
Oh wow, okay.
They were mothballed since like 85.
85. Wow, man. Okay. So do you know? I guess they had to start pretty much all over again. It
I
sounds
mean,
like.
yeah, I mean, I'll confess my ignorance about that. I don't know for sure, but
I'm curious if they had to.
what up, Colin?
I think they had a pretty good run if they just even if they have some stuff to like rejuvenate and get on the ball quickly, even with having some juice or whatever on the side, I think it's really well done. I'm going to give them a 3.5 out of 5. I think on this one, it worked well with the water. Didn't really need it. It's kind of a nice twist if you want it. For that whiskey to be that, and definitely above 43% was a highlight to me. Doesn't taste hot by any means. Very little ethanol detected, other than maybe on the nose after, before water. I think maybe a little bit, but not too crazy. I think a 3.5 out of 5 for me on this one.
Righteous Telex. Yeah, so this is a surprisingly good whiskey. I want to echo a lot of things Telex said. What I had read and heard and experienced with the Iwai that was at 40%, that was not good. This Iwai 45 again was, as Telex said, released in late 2020, up to the ABV 5%, and I will tell you, it changes this whiskey in spades. Designed as a bartender's whiskey, I get what they were going for, but this is great meat. Does it give you everything you want out of the characteristic whiskey from Japan / Japanese whiskey? It gives you hints of it. The floral, the delicacy, the effervescence. But this, first and foremost, is a bold and assertive bourbon cask forward whiskey. I think it brings a lot of flavor to the table, and at a $35 price point on the high end.
That's surprising.
This Iwai 45 this is near diamond in the rough level for me in terms of a whiskey you could spend your money on at that level and enjoy neat and in a cocktail. It's a versatile whiskey. It's a great sipping whiskey. It has hints of the complexity you want out of something from Japan, but at the same time is bold and assertive for an American market. I feel really good about this whiskey as well. I am also a 3.5 out of this. I think this is a 3.5 whiskey. I don't bat an eye at 3.5 on this.
I mean, it's so good that I'm thinking about getting my own bottle of it just to have as a sipper on the side,
It's not, it doesn't do anything amazing, but it does a lot of things well. You know
exactly.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're just wanting like a sip and you don't want to like go into crazy notes, you just want to have a good sip and enjoy it. It's a great sipping. You don't need ice, but you could do ice with it if you want,
Totally. You could put this in a fucking cocktail. Compare this to a whiskey that I quite enjoy. A Glenlivet first fill bourbon. I think this is better than that. And that's a $10 more whiskey. Like, I really do. And we don't know if this is all malted barley or malted grain. It doesn't say. It's not a Japanese whiskey. It's from Japan, because we talked about the rules earlier. But $35, dude, this is a dark horse, man. You could pour this for anyone who enjoys a good whiskey, and they are not going to be upset about it.
True. I mean, because I do like it a lot better than the Magnus. Even though I do like the Magnus from Highland Park, this one to me is like a $10 to $15 boost above it, and it's the same price. So there you go.
I totally agree. And I'm glad you enjoyed this because I poured this for you for a reason. Because I was thinking to myself, like, this is a little bit of a fly under the radar whiskey. I'm going to go out on a limb right now. When Hibiki went from the 12 to the Japanese Harmony, which is an NAS, I like the Japanese Harmony. Most people's first Japanese whiskey is the Japanese Harmony. All I'm going to say is this. I would encourage folks to get a bottle of this Iwai 45, have a bottle of the Japanese Harmony, maybe something else to throw in, just to throw it off, and do a blind tasting.
Yeah.
Do a blind tasting. Because you know what? A Japanese Harmony is going to cost you around $100 these days.
That's crazy, man.
$35 bottle.
Maybe the Hibiki should be like $50, $60 really.
More times. I am telling you, this is a dark horse whiskey. I think it may not have the roundedness of a Hibiki Japanese Harmony nor the Mizunara, but I'll tell you this much. I guarantee you, if you poured this blind for me with a Hibiki Japanese Harmony or with, Fukano, Founder's Reserve, I can't say with confidence that this wouldn't win.
Yeah.
That's the level of whiskey we're dealing with here for a absurdly cheap price. So keep your eyes peeled. Iwai 45. Not the 40. Get the 45. This is a good whiskey, man.
I agree with you there, Stephen, as well. I'm surprised. These prices are crazy.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, I agree. I'm totally with him. But this is the world we live in. You want a whiskey from Japan? Don't blink. Don't blink on this one, y'all. Do not blink. One 3.5 from Telex and I of a fucking sub $50 debatably even single malt.
This is definitely the spiciest Japanese whiskey I've ever had. I will definitely say that. I'm surprised. It's definitely not in the delicate range like a lot of other Japanese whiskeys I've had have been like, but I've been lucky enough to have some crazy different ones, but this one's definitely like if you want something that's a little edgier, and it has kind of like a Scotch almost feel to it. It doesn't have the savoriness that's the only thing that on the palate on that oomph deep in it doesn't have that's missing. But everything else I think is pretty damn solid.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, this is a $35-$40 bottle.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal, I have to say.
It's that good. This, I think about some other bargain whiskeys, and we like to do a whiskey that's affordable in our first hour of our reviews for the most part. We don't always live up to it, but we do a good job. Wouldn't you say, Telex? We do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely accessible, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about like what I would compare this to. Like what I would compare this to. I mean,
I think Cohen's right. It tastes a lot like a Japanese style bourbon compared to their other Japanese whiskeys.
I totally agree. It has hints of what you want. It has hints of that Japanese quote unquote signature style, which I think is enough to put it over the edge. It doesn't, if it was, maybe I would slightly disagree. The bourbon notes are very much forward here, but it has enough of that floral, fragrant delicateness that's just dancing around the edges here to make this a whiskey worth buying. If it wasn't, it would be pedestrian. It would be any other cheap NAS sub $40 whiskey. I think this has just enough of it to put it over the edge. And this is probably why they released it after their 40-year-old or 40%er everybody hated. And bartender, they want to put out something out for the bartender's market, which is what this is designed for. As a Japanese whiskey that's going to bring some of those elements to it. Iwai 45, man. This is fuck around and find out.
There you go.
Good whiskey, man. Good whiskey. I gotta go get some water, Telex.
All right.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. And then we're gonna get into some real interesting shit. So.
No problem, man. Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely different than I was expecting it. And I think on one hand, I think Cohen was right that it does taste more like on the bourbon side of stuff because of the woodiness and the edge. But I agree with Eric that it's got a lot of like really nice florals and fruit. It's got that Japanese-esque thing going on, but it's there's a lot to it. It's kind of up and down on that one. Don Rance is a genius. It's hysterical. Would love to see the border security read that description. Oh my. I'm definitely missed something with that. Yeah, these prices on what happened with the Japanese market on some distilleries is just absolutely insane. A case around $60 each. Wow, that's nuts. There's some malt whiskey in it, but who knows what else percent. That's a good point. Cohen is the we don't know, but I'm just going off of taste, and I love the cinnamon spice that I get out of this one that I don't get anywhere else. I don't really get a lot on bourbons in particular. So I mean, it's kind of its own thing. I do wish it had more of a bottom end roundness to it, but that's the only thing that was really not doing it for me on that. But it's interesting. What's the biggest letdown that you've ever been given by a Japanese whiskey? I'll tell you, for me, it was the Takasuru 21. I was surprised. I had this is going back a ways, and probably been like 4 or 5 years ago at least. And it's the Takasuru. Just pulling it up here. I always mess up the typing this out. Let me see if I can get this right. I think it did. Nika do the Takasuru? I can't remember if they were separate or is Nika whiskey Takasuru plum the pure malt 21. I remember. Let me see something. If I can get this pulled up correctly. Taketsuru, yeah. I always, for some reason, that's like the worst word to spell. Taketsuru. Yeah, the Pure Malt 21, and it gets good ratings. It's usually pretty well rated. I think to me that the beef that I had with it was 43% ABV was a bit low. That one, like I've had Hibiki 21, I loved it. I've had some other ones that are right up there, the Hibiki 17, some Ichibus. I mean, I've had some pretty good stuff, and that one is supposed to be like up there rated, pretty highly with most people. I just thought it was a bit bland for the price that you. Maybe I had an off day in it because it was a sample. That's the problem with samples. Sometimes I think you get, and if you're not having the best tasting day, maybe, or depending on what you ate, maybe that day, it could have a huge effect on it. I'm not sure if it's that intense, but what about you guys? What's the most, whiskey that disappointed you when it came to a Japanese whiskey? I'm just curious. Richie thought the Hibiki was underwhelming. I don't know about that, dude. The 17 and 21 I thought were pretty damn good, but that's what I probably based a lot of my my Japanese whiskey tastings on. Steven loves the 21, but the price, $200 a bottle, definitely, but not. I don't even know what the secondary market prices are nowadays. They're probably insane, I imagine. Let me go back here. Every day, twice on Sunday. Didn't like it. Looks like Peter did. Let me go back to. Hey, just going through some of the. What was the most disappointing Japanese whiskey for you? Like for me, the Taketsuru Pure Malt 21 was.
Yeah, the Miyagiku Pure Malt.
What was it called?
The Miyagiku Pure Malt. That one was, yeah. I mean, that's from the same place that does the Yamazaki, the Nika. I want to say,
Yeah.
it's like this. Yeah, that one was underwhelming as hell considering the price.
It's that's exactly the same one. I was looking. I had a friend a while back, about 4 or 5 years ago, gave me a sample of the Takasuru Pure Malt 21 year, and I'm thinking, oh, it's Nika, it's going to be outstanding, but
Honestly, yeah, I
it
mean,
was horrible.
honestly, the Nika. So Nika there's these two Nika whiskeys, which are products from Japan. They are. There's the Nika coffee grain and the Nika coffee malt. The coffee grain is exponentially better, in my opinion. The coffee grain the coffee malt was one that I actually felt a little bit disappointed in.
I had the grain and liked it, and I think I had the malt and felt the same way too. So we must have the same kind of feel.
Yeah, the grain is really good. I mean, this is the thing. Ultimately, like Japanese whiskeys from Japan or Japanese whiskeys are like overpriced because of the hype. But there are some diamonds in the rough, and I think, fingers crossed, Telex, I'm about to expose you to one that I think is a real winner.
Really?
Really? I just poured mine out. And so if you want to get yours in the glass, we've just hit hour 2, and I can definitely give the tail of the tape on the one that we're about to enjoy.
I beat you a little bit to it. I poured it out about 12 minutes ago, right on the dot.
Right. So let me set the table here for our second whiskey from Japan. This is also a whiskey from Japan. What we are about to sip here, this is around $90. So higher price than the Iwai that we were drinking. However, by no means overpriced considering the market. This is a 12-year-old single cask Fukano, 12 years old. It is bottled at cask strength, which for these it varies because it's about 8 different barrels that they put together here. This one is 43.1%, so that's the cask strength here.
8 different barrels, wow.
Yeah, this is a 100% rice whiskey.
Interesting.
So, unlike the Iwai, this is 100% rice. Now, invariably, Telex, you mentioned earlier, like the question about like, is this sake or is this, like how is this not sake? So here's the main difference. A rice whiskey differs from a sake because sake is brewed from rice. This is distilled from rice.
Ah, okay.
So a Japanese whiskey from rice comes from distillation, not from brewing. This is based off of another Japanese liquor called shochu, which is a rice distilled whiskey. However, shochu is usually bottled around 25% ABV. That's what makes it shochu. The difference is that this is a whiskey, so it's over 40%. This one in particular comes out of the Shinshu Distillery. They've been around for almost 200 years, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
This is called, this does not necessarily meet all the requirements for a Japanese whiskey, so it is a whiskey from Japan. I don't know why. There's no age statement. Oh, there is. It is a 12-year age statement. This is what the bottle looks like. Quite beautiful artwork. 12 years old, single cask. 43.1% ABV, distilled from rice from Japan. Here's the box. That is the tail of the tape. This is around $90 USD. If you are on the west coast of the United States, you can find this relatively easily. It's increasingly becoming more easy to find in other places.
Did you say the west coast?
Yeah, the west coast is where this kind of landed first.
Okay.
It is starting to make its way across the U.S. They have a bunch of different releases from Fukano. Some are specifically, they're called like Barrel Reserve. Some are Single Cask, etc. This is a 12-year-old Single Cask. This is one of the oldest ones I've ever seen. And again, 100% from rice, but it is not sake in that it is not brewed, it is distilled.
Very interesting. This is the first time I'm ever going to try a rice whiskey.
Yes, this is a 100% rice whiskey, my friend.
Are all the
And
are all the Fukanos rice whiskey, or do they mix it up a bit?
I can't say for sure, but from my understanding, yes, they are all 100% rice. They follow the shochu style, but they have higher beer. Shochu is usually around, which is a Japanese liquor, is usually around 25%. That's
Okay.
the ABV. These are whiskeys in that they're meeting a 40% ABV. So what we're looking at here is 12 years old, single cask. For those keeping score at home, if you care about such things, this is cask 57. This is bottle. There was 408 bottles produced in this release, and 43.1%.
Wow, it's a great, that they have an A statement on this. I'm curious to try a rice for the first time. I have had sake. I'm kind of indifferent to sake. I'm not sure if I'd ever say I like it or I don't like it. It's been so long since I've had to have it. I honestly can't even remember
Yeah,
if I really enjoyed it much.
yeah, and I should add, just for the hell of it, this is aged in ex bourbon, so like
Expert,
that's what
okay.
we're going to be looking at here.
Yeah, after we do our tasting, I'm gonna ask you some questions about locating some Japanese whiskey like this one and some other ones. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for that too. I love the way the legs run on this. It's pretty nice and slow. It holds the shape pretty well. Pretty nice color. We don't know about the coloring and stuff, but it doesn't look anything out of the ordinary. It's pretty good, nice gold amber color.
Oh, that nose is really enticing.
Wow, that is different. That is good though. The first note I got was like a two-prong, like a huge amount of cherries. Oh, and some really nice big red roses.
Oh,
Oh, it's so nice and sweet, man. Wow. That's intense. There's like some vanillas and some.
Yeah,
It's very, very floral.
leather or like tobacco. I get some hints of a very sweet tobacco. I got the vanilla for sure. You said cherries.
Very sweet tobacco. Yeah,
dried,
almost like a Turkish delight type of tobacco.
Oh, you hit the nail on that. Turkish delight. That's a great way to put it. There's also a hint of smoke, just like a
There
little
is, yeah.
whiff, like a char or a smoke to this.
You're right. That's wild. It's like a sandy ash.
Yeah.
Sandalwood, I guess, is what I'm going for.
Ah, yes, the old sandalwood. Yes. Yeah, there's some.
I can't get over how much cherry cordial is in this, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're right about the cherry. It's like I mean, I would even venture to say it's like a maraschino cherry. Like it's like that level of cherry, but it has such a delectable like roundedness to it.
As I say, I'm getting. I don't know if I would go as far as maraschino. I do agree it's sweet, but I'm getting like with the cherry. I'm getting like I guess it's either a combination of like Red Delicious apple or some other like more like you said, well-rounded fruit with it.
Yeah, I hear you on the apple. And for me, it's more like Granny Smith green apple, but I hear you. Fucking nose, man.
It's like crazy. Like now I'm getting like candied red apples. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. The nose on this is stupid.
It's dancing all over the place. This is one of the best noses I've had in a while. Oh, caramel. Now it's kind of. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in for a taste.
All right, man. Sláinte.
Mm-hmm.
Getting some nice citrus in there now too. Some like oranges and some lemons. It keeps changing, which is good.
Oh man, wait till you get that on the palate. It changes like 4 times just when it's in your mouth.
Wow.
Laffy Taffy,
Oh wow, dude.
Laffy Taffy, and
Oh,
then it turns into like heavy bourbon cask, and then it turns into floral rosewater. Oh my god!
that is wow. That is wow. That is a much different delivery and so much better than I anticipated. Because when people start talking about like sake and the rice and stuff, I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be in my face intense. This is well rounded, savory, and all the right notes. Oh
Oh,
man,
dude, that is so good. It's like all I can say if you this is in a sense of bougie, but it's like if you've ever put rose water or saffron in anything,
this
like
has definitely saffron and rose water. You nailed it, man. Wow.
you said Turkish delight earlier. It's dude, I've been to Turkey, and I will tell you, you hit the nail on the goddamn head with that. It's like that hint of anise or like licorice kind of note, but otherwise it's dominated by sweet confectionery, light, very light, like not a heavy flavor. It's light. It's ebullient.
This does have a little bit of cinnamon too. Not as near as much as that first one, but a little touch of cinnamon, a little bit of like wow, and really nice sweet candy apples too. Mm.
Big time.
A little bit of white pepper, just a touch, not much. Oh man, very, and it's funny because it's on the lighter end in the spices, like the light brown sugar, the light, um, but it's very intense on the, even though it's on the lighter
Dude,
side of the flavors, it's intense.
exactly. Like this is only 43.1%. And like it arrives on the palate in terms of texture as a very medium whiskey, but the flavor is heavy.
That's
It's
so good. I'm afraid to put water on it.
yeah, we should do it. Let's do it.
I was gonna say I'm afraid to, man. It's so good and eat. I'm like, wow.
I'm just doing a drop, man. I don't know what to expect. I'm doing a drop.
I'm just gonna pour a little bit first. I'm gonna save like half of this sample for the rest, like neat again if I don't like it with water. But I have a feeling it's gonna be maybe even more spicy. We'll see.
Man, have you ever had like an Eastern or like a German Christmas cookie that's got a little bit of anise, a little bit of that like I don't even know powdered sugar? Just it
This
has
definitely has a really nice powdered sugary finish to it.
the fullness. It has a fullness to it that is very distinctly Eastern European dessert. I know how bougie that sounds, but like that's what it is.
Baklava. It's got like a lot of baklava, like
Yes,
in the.
walnut, dude, baklava. That's the way to put it.
That's
Not
the
as
first thing when you said Eastern European dessert, and I thought he's right. What does this taste like? And then I thought, oh, it's like a
good.
like a Grecian dessert, like a baklava or something.
Yeah.
All right, I just put like one or two drops.
Yeah, I did too. The water barely changes the nose. It's still just so heavy with that creamy, caramel, decadent, syrupy, sugary dessert.
The apples are more in my face, definitely.
God damn.
Definitely getting a lot of like almost like a juicy fruit gum meets apple
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Oh man, that is so good. This is not even gonna front.
With the
Um,
water, it brought out even more of, I'd say the somehow it was already caramely and appley, Wow.
Yeah,
It's, I mean, it's not the most complex thing in the world on one hand, but for what it
right.
is, it's a solid flavor. If you like fruit, if you like the wood, if you like the a little bit of spice, both on the white pepper and the cinnamon, it's got a lot of great things going for it that work well together.
I couldn't agree
Mm,
more. I mean, it definitely, it's like a three note pony, but in the best way I could ever say that.
exactly. That's the way I look at it too. I mean, if you're wanting just a really, really nicely developed taste, flavor, I don't think this needs water by any means. I don't even know if it really does a whole lot for it, but
I
it doesn't
agree.
take away from it.
I barely got anything else out of water on this. Like it held strong with just a couple drops of water. And again, this is only 40. What did I say? It was 43.
43-1, yeah.
Yeah, 43.1, which is cast strength for this. Again, 100% distilled rice.
That's the weirdest thing to me. I'm a huge rice fan because I've never, like, when I've had sake before, I could definitely taste the rice in it. With this, I don't
Right.
know if it's because there's so much other flavors going on, but I don't detect. I couldn't, like, if you told me this was made with malt versus grain versus corn versus rice, I couldn't be able to tell. It's
Yeah,
so
I mean, I think that's the difference between like with sake, where you're brewing, you're going through a brewing process with the rice versus a distillation here. I think that's the difference, and I think it it rice is such a neutral flavor, but it strips away some of that. And like this is so cask forward. Like you could put this in any goddamn cask, and you would like. Could you imagine a whiskey that you tasted more of the cask influence of than this? Like imagine putting this in a first fill sherry cask. Like
wow,
you
that'd
would
be
have the
something
most
else.
pure essence, a pheno cask, like the pure essence of a cask, not adulterated by, and I say adulterated neutrally, adulterated by like barley or corn or rye. Like rice, it literally just takes this on and adds little to nothing to it other than maybe a slight flaminess.
Think I
This
do get
is,
like a cereal, like a rice cereal note on the nose,
yeah, a
but
little
that's like
bit,
the
right?
extent of it.
Right, but it's so subtle. I mean, it ain't like
It's
it's a
very
bourbon.
subtle, yeah.
I mean, for the bourbon
Exactly.
notes that you're getting on this, this is all like, I mean, the bourbon cask influence you're getting on this, you're getting the cleanest bourbon cask notes that you would ever get, I think. Like, it doesn't even, yeah,
I could nose this all day. It's that good on the nose.
it's fantastic on the nose. Yeah, I agree. And that rose water thing, I mean, I know
Oh,
what
I
that sounds
love
like.
it, man.
It's
I
so
love
there. And the
I love
slight
that
anise,
note.
slight effervescent anise, it's not heavy black licorice notes. It's like somebody 50 feet away from you opened a bag of high quality anise black licorice, and you can just slightly smell it. And it just adds to a little bit of complexity. Because I am not a black licorice fan, but I will tell you it works
Me
really
neither,
well.
yeah. No, you're dead on. It's like it's definitely the high quality aspect of it. I think makes the biggest difference when it comes to when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about the, your shitty black licorice versus your really good stuff.
Yeah, and good point by Cohen. He said that all whiskey is brewed and then distilled. That's absolutely true. But I think that like the distillation process is what strips away what otherwise would be the like more, for lack of a better word, beer aspects of it. So that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
This definitely feels like any Japanese whiskey, minus the rice difference. Like I do sense it, but it's definitely, I think, a well received addition rather than a distraction or some off putting note. It's definitely a good thing for me. I'm gonna definitely seek out some more rice distilled liquor. I think after this.
Yeah,
I love
man.
that,
I mean,
and it's funny. It's the rosewater is not something, in the saffron and stuff like that's not things I usually would seek, but it works so well with this, with all the other things we've been talking about. It's it's killer.
Yeah. So yeah, just one more plug. So this is the Fukano 12-year-old. This is a single cask. ABV may vary because they do about 8 different casks. This is 12 years old, about $90 US retail. If you're on the West Coast, you can find this quite easily. If you're not, you can definitely have it shipped your way. Um,
Wow, it's
I
so
mean,
good to eat.
this is fucking good, man. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
so damn good and eat. It's insane how. I mean, this is like under $100. That's what is surprising to me.
Yeah, they do have a 14-year, which is around 120, but they have some other ones that are NAS that are cheaper. But again, like they're not the only one. And Cohen brought up another really good point. The Oishis, like those are. I have a 8-year-old sherry cask from them. Those are other examples of like the same style. But basically, like when you think about some of the big named, the hyped Japanese whiskeys among Scotch drinkers, Nika from the barrel, which is great. I mean, I think this brings this. You could just drink this all fucking night, man. It's deceptively light.
The good thing about this 43, though, to me, it tastes is nice and punchy, like a 45 to 46% would. It does have a nice. It's funny. It's like the opposite of the first one. The first one tasted like it was. Yeah, it is weird. But the sprightly effervescence is more on this one, even though it's a lower ABV for me. I think the craft is better on this one.
That's a really good point.
I know we can't like determine it for sure, but the craft to me seems like it might be a little bit more. Time has been taken on this one a little bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, this just brings the 12-year-old age same in. So, like, I mean, I think that's definitely playing an effect. And again, I mean, this is uncharted waters, man. I mean, like to some degree, like the rice nature of this. I mean, I'm not gonna even front. Like, I don't have much experience with a ton of completely rice whiskeys. I have a couple Fukanos. I have an Iwai, a couple other ones. Like, I mean, this really is bringing a dynamism to the Japanese whiskey style or the whiskey from Japan style that otherwise I think is lost in people who are chasing the Nika from the barrel, the Yamazaki 12. Like, this is different.
To me, this is just as yeah. To me, this is just as good as the Nika from like talking about this Fukano one. I like this as much as I did like the coffee grain and some of the really good Nika ones I've had. So I think it's right there neck and neck with them, really.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, when you're ready to go final score or final thoughts, rather, I'm right there behind you.
Yeah, this is a really good, another great pour, Eric from Malt Muser. I really appreciate it. Wow, I'm sold on rice whiskey. Like, it's funny being from Kentucky originally. I grew up drinking corn whiskey, not really liking it that much, which is really sad. And then I finally found rye, and I thought, oh, this is where my heart, is. And then later, much later down the road, finding out, malt barley and Scotch, and it's like, oh, I found the promised land. This is where I definitely should be. And now it's funny because I'm going to be 46 in October, and now it's like I'm just now getting into I've had some Japanese whiskey, but now I'm getting into more specifically like a rice whiskey, and now I'm like, wow, I like this just as much as I do the malt barley stuff. I like it a hell of a lot better than corn, and I like rye a lot still, but it's right up there. So this is going to be something I seek out on the side. 12-year age statement, I love it. 43.1. It's on the lower side, but like I said, it tastes like a 46 to me, which is good.
Yeah.
It's got a great even though we don't know about the craft as far as the chill filtering and the coloring, it doesn't look, out of the ordinary. It doesn't look overly dark, or it doesn't look like a Dalmore, put it that way. And it's a great taste. No, the nose is phenomenal. That gets bonus points. The taste is damn good as well, if not phenomenal too. The finish is good. It's on the spicier end, but not a bad thing for me. I'm getting a lot of nutmegs and cinnamon still on the finish.
Yeah, yeah, cinnamon for sure. Yeah,
I love that rose water and the saffron and some of the notes that you don't usually get on whiskey, which is a huge plus for me because I love getting some of the. Sometimes you want a little, something different that you're like, oh wow, that smells like basil. It tastes like rosemary. It's like you want to have that kind of feeling sometimes. If you're in the food like I am, you almost treat your whiskey just as like you treat your food. So, with that said, I think this is. It's pretty solid. I'm going to give this much better than average. I'd say it's right up there with the Nikas, and I usually would put like a 4.25 on some of the better Nikas, and this I think is right up there. And I'm kind of, I think on this particular one, I'm going to give it a nice solid 4 out of 5. It definitely makes me want to see what Fukano does at the 14-year level, which they already have. And as they grow 16, 20, it's going to be a fun journey to take with them in the future. So I think that's where we are at for me, man.
Yeah, that's a 4.0 out of Telex. I mean, dude, you killed it. You killed it. You hit the notes I was exactly thinking, like the craft, the like dynamism that this is bringing. Be honest, like just the love of cask, and this is something that I've increasingly talked about over the years as I've gotten more and more into this. Age is important, but cask is even more important. And what we're looking at here is a whiskey with a good age, young, 12, whatever, but incredible cask influence. What a well-crafted whiskey. It is literally it's such a joy to drink. It's light, but flavorful. It's deceptively complex. I'd love to see a little more complexity if I was going to ding it for anything. But boy, oh boy, if you're going to put a whiskey in a bourbon cask, this is going to be in that conversation as one of the better ones.
Wish I had more of it.
Yeah, I'm at the $90 price point. I think for a whiskey from Japan / Japanese whiskey, whatever you call it, like this whiskey is fucking killing it. I would put this above the Nika coffee grain, which is something I really love. That's about a $70 bottle. This is a great pour. I'd highly encourage folks to get it. I'm bullish on this one. I'm a 4.25 out of 5 on this. I really am. I think this is a must-buy whiskey, especially if you're a bourbon head and want to try something that's going to be in your wheelhouse but bring some subtle nuance and some challenge. For Scotch drinkers, not as much, but I think it still is going to greet you favorably. So I'm a 4.25 out of this. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Telex. I was really excited to share this with you. We got a 4 out of 5 from Telex, 4.25 out of 5 from Malt Muser on the Fukano 12-year-old single cask whiskey from Japan. And then we were both the same on the Iwai at 3.25, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Two off-the-wall whiskeys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I would love to hear in the chat if any of you have had either of these or have opinions on the Fukano. Cohen just asked what the proof is. So this one was 43.1, which is cask strength, but the proof will vary because this is a single cask. This 12-year-old is released in single casks, especially for you being a SoCal person. You'll be able to find this pretty easily. You may find some different ABVs, but boy, I'll tell you, 43.1%. This is killing it.
Tastes like a 46 to me as well. So even though it's 43.1, I think it tastes a little better than the ABV shows you. We'll put it that way.
Oh yeah.
The malt, he said that I looked at Total Wine and they had some of their cases have this 12 single cask for 109. There you go. That's pretty good. That's the. Have you had the 14 already, Eric?
I have not. I have a couple other Fukanos. I do. I have their. It's something called their batch reserve number 2, which is a sherried one. There's another. I don't remember the names of them. I'll be honest. This is the reason I poured this for you is because this had the oldest age statement, and I mean, to be completely honest, I just thought it was fucking great.
Yeah, no, it is really damn good.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have a couple others. There are some older ones, and there's a healthy amount of them on the market. I would argue. I think the distiller score here, if I'm not mistaken, on this is around 92, 93. But there are a bunch of other Fukano releases. Oh yeah, so the other one that I have is called the Vault Reserve 2. That is 88 on distiller. There are some other ones. There's sherry. There's a bunch of the 10-year-old. The 14-year-old, all that.
Let me ask you this: the specifically the sherry cask batch 2. I found it in DC. Do you think 110 is a fair price for that one, or is that too high for the batch 2?
Well, I mean, for DC, no, that's fair. I mean, I think I paid probably closer to 70 minus shipping. So with shipping, 81, 82. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Okay.
Considering DC and cost, the way that, I don't know what you make a year, but you live in DC, you invariably tend to make more life. So I would say, yeah, that's probably fair. That's probably
I'm surprised that I only saw one of those. That's crazy. Let me try one more of the other place that I usually look to see if I could find a batch 2, just out of curiosity, if they. And here we go. Yeah, 110, 180. Oh, now it's funny. Now the place in DC I see still is 110, and now I'm also seeing 185 is the usual price.
That's way too much.
And and the funny thing is, I'm seeing 185, and I'll give you some states. Let me see if it tells me the states. I don't think it tells me off the top, but we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stores have it at $184.99, and only one in DC has it for 110.
Well,
that's crazy.
I don't have that sherry one that you're talking about. I have what's called the Vault 2. I don't know if it's sherry or not, but if the one that you're looking at, the limited edition sherry, yeah, that's a good price. I would buy it. I'd buy it 110 for sure.
Vault Reserve 2, 78. I'm seeing that for 78.
That's one of the other ones that I have. Yeah, that's about what I paid.
Okay.
And again, they're all 100% rice whiskeys, distilled rice whiskeys. I mean, dude, yeah.
I see the price creep. Ace has got it for 110, and then I start seeing 123 at a lot of places and other place. Wow, it's crazy. Some of these price differences. Like we're going from 72, same bottle, creeps up to 95, creeps up to 123, and then the most expensive version I see for 238. It's the same damn bottle.
Yeah, don't pay that much. It's not worth that much.
What do you use to find your Japanese stuff? I'm just curious.
I mean, mostly I got these from California. I mean, this Fukano 12 that we just did, again, 4.25 up for me, 4 for Telex. This one I got from, I think, a place called Flask. And they had it for, like 98, 99.
Wow.
I mean, so it's not cheap per se, but 12-year-old single cask. I mean, come on. I mean, what 12-year-old single cask you get? This This shit's killer, man. It's killer.
So when you're looking for your Japanese whiskey, do you use the same vehicles that you use for Scotch, or do you use different ones that you normally wouldn't use?
Yeah, Wine Searcher. I use Wine Searcher. Again, I mean, I would. Again, the Vault I've seen on the East Coast. The Vault Edition 2, Astor Wine and Spirits in New York, which will ship to you. I think probably has it for around 80. You'll probably find the 14 or the 12 single cask for, right around that $100 range. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would use 1000corks.com if you.
That's what I was using earlier, just to see if I could find them, and they did have a lot on there too. So that's a good.
They're killer. I mean, you're not going to find a huge variation in price. I mean, but for whiskeys from Japan at this time, like these are flying under the radar still. I mean, most people are looking for those Hibiki Japanese. I mean, the fact that you could buy this for the same price as a Japanese Harmony is criminal.
That's true. Yeah. It is true. It's much, much, much better than the Harmony. I mean, the Harmony is an okay NAS whiskey, but
yeah, totally.
It's nothing like that.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I highly recommend this one. So just to recap, I hope you've all enjoyed we've checked out some whiskeys from Japan tonight. Smash that thumbs up if you haven't yet. Fukano 12-year-old single cask, 4.25 from me, 4.0 from Telex, and then the Iwai 45 was a 3.25 across the board, or 3.25 across the board from both Telex and myself. So two whiskeys we would definitely recommend.
Yeah, still solid. That Iwa 45 was still solid for not having an age statement, being 45%. I mean, I was impressed by both of these in a good way. Much better than that Takasuru 21, which is it's almost sacrilegious to say. It's so sacrilegious because it's such an expensive bottle, and I don't even want to know what he paid to get it. I'm just glad I got it as a sample, but man, it was such the biggest letdown I've ever had of any whiskey that I can think of, next to maybe like maybe a Macallan, Fine Oak or something, but that's
right. Telex, I will be right back. I have to run downstairs in just a second, so I'll come back in just a moment.
No problem, man. Let's see what's coming up on. I've got a bunch of open bottles. Man, I got like 31 open bottles right now. 31, that's crazy. I've been keeping better tabs of the old inventory to see what's coming. So I really appreciate you guys taking a look at these Japanese whiskeys with us, and then when he comes back, we'll take a look and see what we got going for the next show, and we will be doing a couple of interesting different ones down the road. I was so lucky to find that Ardmore 20 recently, and I've got my eyes on some other ones. I need to get with Steve and Connor about a Ben Nevis distillery bottle at some point. I need an Othrosk, a Balmanac. I'd love to get my hands on a Bladnock 25. A Salad 27 for a great price, but it was lower ABV, so I'm thinking I'll stick with the Bladnock 25 rather than get the 27. 2 years is not worth a lower ABV to me unless it was just phenomenally different, and I've not heard of that being all that great. Blair Athol 23 I've heard is overpriced, but I still love to have a bottle of it. Oh man, Benhaven 25. I've got to get my hands clear. 25. A Cardew 18 would be nice, but not that big of a deal. I'm not a huge fan of Cardew. Just be nice to have a decent bottle before we start attacking the independents. Glengarry. Now they have a 15 Renaissance, but I've heard they have a 17-year Renaissance. Has anyone had the 17-year Glengarry? I'm just curious. If you have, let me know on the. Let's see if I can get my channel thing fixed here. Hopefully, there we go. This is gonna the if you had the Glengarry, any of the Glengarrys before there, Eric. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you in there too quick.
That's all right. I had to go get my delivery.
Oh, I got you. That sounds
Yes.
good, man. That's what I had for dinner myself too.
Yeah. Sometimes it's needed.
A large
I have
fry,
not had the
a large
Glengarry.
a pie, and a large coffee.
Yeah. I need my
Frog
large.
baseball. Remember Frog baseball? Beavis and
Yeah.
Butthead.
Totally. I have not had the Glengarry 17, but I've seen it on sale multiple times, and I'm super tempted because I absolutely love the Glengarry 12.
Oh man, if you see it, let me know on the side where I can get my hands on it. Because I've been looking for the 15 Renaissance. They've had the 15 Renaissance for a while, but they have a new 17 Renaissance, and
Yeah.
I'd love to get my hands on that. So,
Yep. As would I. We should probably get that bottle at some point. What do we have coming up, by the way? I know. Do we have? Let me look. We probably. I mean, we have a bunch of good ones coming up here, don't we?
oh yes, I just had my sheet up. We got the Deanston Virgin Oak and the 17 Organic PX Cask coming next week on the 18th.
Nice.
Then we'll be looking at a Compass Box Spice Tree Extravaganza and a Compass Box Pete Monster Arcana, which will be on the 25th.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait, man. I do love Compass Box. I've been lucky enough to have several different ones over the years. I haven't had one in a while because I went kind of crazy when I first started. When I got into them, I got the Pete Monster, of course, the No Name one, the Phenomenology, the Great King Glasgow, all that stuff, and the Spaniard, and I just went nuts. What was that one called? The Juvenile.
Juveniles.
That was another one. There was so many, man. I just can't keep track of all the releases. This is insane.
No, I can't either. I'm similar to you. I took a little. Well, taking a break from them sounds like I made a conscious decision. I kind of just was like done, for a while, and now I've come back, and yeah, there's just so many, man. The Rogue's Banquet, which I've not had, but I've heard nothing but good things about.
Have you heard anything about the Menagerie one?
Cohen. If Cohen is still in the chat, he was saying nah
on the Menagerie one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's that one. This one I've seen the most like press on lately. Just out of the corner of my eye, and I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I haven't had it. The only ones that I've picked up, I finally got the Story of the Spaniard. I haven't opened it yet. I got the Hedonism Felicitas, which is that like 20-year-old or the 20th anniversary. Not 20 years old, just to be clear. I got that. I got the Arcana and the Magic Cask, which has increasingly become more and more delicious as I've been drinking it.
Nice. Has someone please mention Menagerie? I almost bought it today. Daniel says, well, Cohen said you might want to not deal with it. I haven't opened it, but Dustin said it was underwhelming and, as usual, overpriced. Yeah, but Dustin says everything is overpriced and underwhelming.
I don't know what is the maturation on the Menagerie. Like, what's the thing about it? I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard any details. I just know that they've been plugging the hell out of it, like on a lot of like whiskey either channels or news places, advertising. So that's why I thought, well, that's the one I probably should ask about.
Interesting.
The Story of the Spaniard I thought was decent. I was underwhelmed on that one, to be honest with you. But as far as just a standard sherry bottle, I could say that yeah, it's okay. But I was once you have the phenomenology, all other bottles are really not all that great to me because it's such a damn good bottle. But I don't know.
Phenomenology was a couple of years ago, though, right?
Yeah, it was at least 3 or 4 years ago. It ran for like $120, I think, retail. aftermarket, it went up to like 180, 190, and now there's no telling what they're trying to charge for that craziness. But uh, I
What
would
was
go
the
to like 150,
time?
160. I think is a good price, but 170
I'm
maybe
looking at
tops. You're looking at what?
I'm looking it up right now. What was
Oh,
the maturation on that? Like, what was so special about it? Do you remember?
the good thing about John, I was lucky enough to meet John Glacier once in New York, and with the Scotch for Dummies, they got an interview with him. And one thing I will commend him for is he's extremely open about his usually about their recipes. So if you don't get it on the side, and I used to have it, I don't know if here we go. I do have it here. They actually have it pretty easy where you can see what exactly goes in it. For the phenomenology, it was a one recharred hogshead, 72% liquor volume from Glenlossie. And then they had the second one was a first fill bourbon from Tamdu, 24.5% of that. And
Oh,
then
interesting.
2% of a Highland Park recharged hogshead. And then they had a four, which was from Talisker, a refill butt, 1%. And then they had 0.5% volume from Kalila, a hogshead cask. So they had 5 different casks.
25?
Yeah, 0.5 for Kalila, 1% from Talisker. It had 2% Highland Park, 24.5 from Tamdu, and 72, the most, came from Glenlossie. So I've never had the Glenlossie 10 Flora and Fauna bottle. It's probably not really
Yeah.
anything at all to go ape shit over, I'm sure. But if they chose 72% of that to be from that phenomenology to be from Glenlossie, man, I got to get my hands on a bottle. I don't care what the hell it is.
Would you pay 185 for a bottle of phenomenology?
That's right at the threshold, man. That's like right there. 170 is probably as high as I personally would want to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is I'm trying. What's the ABV on that bottle?
Um, that's a great question. Hang on. I'm going to
That's
guess 46,
that's
but
the big kicker. Let me see if I can find it real fast.
yeah, I'm looking too. Um,
Phenomen. It's, the damn name is so crazy. Phenomenology.
like any compass box, it's a pretty looking bottle.
Oh, it's a beautiful bottle. Hopefully, I can just type that. There we
Yeah,
go.
it's funny. I just looked at the about section about this, and it doesn't.
46%. It's a 46.
Oh,
So at 46, that's when it's really hard to go above like 150 to 170 on a bottle, unless it's extremely well aged. The thing about this that makes it so special is that they have got this perfected recipe of Kalila, Talisker, Highland Park, Tamdu, and Glenlossie. It's like a magical formation.
isn't that
Is it?
always what their pitch is, though? Isn't it always they've like stumbled upon some magical, ratio, and then they're trying to. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but that
I know
seems
what
to
you
be,
mean.
that seems to be part and parcel for them to a degree.
No, I don't think it was overpriced, Stephen, when it came out. I'm thinking like if they're charging $300 or $400 for it, that is where I would say it's overpriced.
Yeah.
170 retail sounds about right. So, would you say you found it for, Eric? 190?
It's 185 minus shipping.
I would pull the trigger on it because you're never going to see that again. It's only $15 above retail. It is a damn good bottle. I actually I had it before a long time ago, and I wanted my own bottle, and Steven had an extra one, so I bought one off Steven actually for around the same retail price. And if you found it for $15 more, I would jump on it just to have the bottle, man, because
Really?
yeah, it's a special bottle. I mean, if you like, it's not like a peated, crazy dram. It's very fruit forward, very floral, very It's funny. It's like it's almost Japanese-esque, to be honest with you. It's kind of crazy to think about,
Oh,
but it's got that kind of profile to me. It's more on the aromatics and the. I mean, it's got some thick character to it, but it's very airy and very. Wow, it's crazy. And Steven's like, damn, why did I sell that one? It's true, man. I was surprised you did. I'm glad. I'm really damn glad you did because it only lasted like a few, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and it was gone.
okay, that's good to know. All right,
Yeah, I would jump all
maybe
over
I'm more
that.
around this.
Maybe if it's under 200, I probably would say go for it. If it's over 200, I would probably be like, well, how rare is it? If it's really hard to find, then maybe. But that's where I would draw that line, probably at 2, maybe. That's a close one.
Interesting. Okay.
The phenomenal age of the Glenlassie is 21 years old. That's 72% of it. Okay, so if it's yeah, that's the funny thing. Like when they give you the recipe when you download it, you can actually download it. But if you write to them, I know some of these guys, and Dustin might be one of them. I think Dustin might. I know a couple of these guys will really actually write to them. They will give you like the age of different casks and stuff. And supposedly this one's got 21-year Glenlassie and it's 72% of it. So that's the reason why it's so damn good.
Interesting. Okay, and they haven't done like a second or third batch release type thing. This was like a one and done.
That was a one and done, and that was and that's the funny thing about this one is that it was so damn good. I'm surprised they couldn't do another, but I guess it's because the age of the Glenlassie, maybe they didn't have so much of it where they couldn't start, piping it in. Now you can check the website for the age. They use a graphic, and if you count the rings, that's the age. Okay. I'm looking at, like, I downloaded a fact sheet from them about the phenomenology, and it's got like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the volume, but it doesn't have like rings that he's talking about. Maybe it might be on another. Maybe it's like another part of the site or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
It's
looking
not.
at it.
It's non-chill. It's non-chill filtered and natural color. So there you go. I mean, for it to be non-chill filtered natural color, at least 70% of the stuff is 21-year Glenlassie. It's kind of hard to say no to that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
10-year.
Yeah, what do we have coming up next with Telex? I just realized I haven't looked at it.
What was it?
Oh, next week is Deanston week.
Yeah, we got the Virgin Oak and the Organic 17PX. That's going to be awesome.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That'll be fun.
I never tried that 17 Organic PX. So that's going to be a total new one for me.
I think people like it.
It's hard to say no to Deanston, I tell you.
I agree. Yeah, folks, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, do so. And if you haven't subbed to Telex, the Whiskey Technician, you should do that. You can also sub to Malt Muser if you're interested. I am going to sign off, my friend. But I'm looking forward to that decent show, and I will be beaming the signal next week from Chicago, Illinois. Time. Yeah, same time, same place, but different. Different background. Did you catch any of that?
I think we got 70% of
that. Well, I'm sure it translated. I'm hoping. Basically, what I was saying was, I'm going to sign off. I'm looking forward to the Deanston show. I will be beaming my signal from Chicago, Illinois next week, and much love.
I appreciate it, man. Hopefully you have a safe trip and stay healthy. And you already got double vaccinated, I take it, right?
Oh yeah, I'm all set to go.
I get my second one on Friday, my friend. I'll be double on as of Friday, and thankfully they just opened up to the old kiddos. So I've got a 12-year-old daughter, so she'll hopefully be able to get it I'm not going to
Yeah,
be the first one in line, but I told her, after maybe a little while, we'll see how it goes. And maybe, I mean, I'm sure that the FDA is approving it. It can't be that bad, I'm hoping, but you never
yeah.
know with some of this stuff. You got to be, you know, careful, but yet you got to have common sense. It's better than nothing. And if it's 100% effective, keep me out of the hospital, I say go for it.
100% with you, man. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. And we'll be in touch. I will. I'll let you know how the move goes. And yeah, I'll see you next week from the second city, Chicago, Illinois.
I'll see you, man. Have a good one.
Peace.
Cheers. All right, guys. Steven was saying keep it going. That's fine. I don't mind keeping it going a little bit here with you guys on the side. No, we can stay together here. What are you guys sipping on right now? Matter of fact, I think one of you guys poured a phenomenology earlier. If you can, Dustin, tell me where you were looking at that. I'm on the site and I see the recipe and fact download sheet, which I looked at. I know you were talking about rings of some sort. If you could see what the what rings were you talking about? I'm just kind of curious, if you don't mind. Going to the next read. It's just kind of young. Yeah, that's that's kind of that's the thing. I mean, Dustin. I mean, when it comes to detecting the young whiskey, I know you're not a big fan of it, and most people aren't when you're dealing with some of this stuff. But doesn't some of the young whiskey give it something that you wouldn't have if it was all just the older stuff when you're doing these blends? I can understand that, yes, you want predominantly most of it to be the older stuff, but when it comes to developing like a flavor or a taste or a profile or something like that, don't you want it to have a little bit maybe of youthful whiskey to give it, I mean, when you're dealing with peated offerings, it's definitely helpful to give it more of power, more of a punch, maybe more spice. Maybe you're looking for more white pepper, black pepper, punch with that. Go download a fact sheet for any reason. I just did, and when I looked and I opened it up, I'm gonna open it up again. I appreciate you telling me this because I wasn't really sure. I've all I see on this is like the one. It's got the barrel. It's got recharred hogshead, 72% liquor by volume, fresh fruity apples, and that's the malt from Glenlossie. It doesn't have any like different rings per se. It's just got like a volume. It shows you one being the most of it, which makes sense being 72%. But it doesn't have any rings when it comes to age that I see, unless I'm missing something here. Old Pulteney Sherry Single Cask right now. Ooh. Old Pulteney Sherry Single Cask sounds phenomenal. You lucky dog. I'm okay with some young whiskey in a blend. I don't like 16.7% of this being their Highland blend, which I don't really care for in general. 16.7. Which distillery do you think it's from? I'm assuming this is the Menagerie that you're talking about. So download Say Menagerie and go to the second page. Okay, because I'm looking at a phenomenology. They probably don't do it on their older ones. But let me go to whiskeys and go to... Wow, they got a lot. Menagerie, here we go. Fact sheet. I love this. It's so nice to see a blender that actually gives you the. Oh, yeah, this is much different. Wow. Okay, yeah. Now they're giving you the age based off like almost like a tree. That's pretty cool. The Mortlock Distillery, 42.7. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, my head's all tilted. I'm looking at this other screen all funny. Ooh, 5.4 in Lefroy. That's interesting. 5% Glenelgan. Another 13.1 in Glenelgan. Highland Malt. Oh, okay. This is where it gets funky here. Let me blow this up so I can actually see a little bit better. Highland Malt Can't even speak. Highland Malt Blend, custom French oak barrel, medium and heavy toast, blended malt, gingerbread, red apple, toast oak. This is the one that Dustin's not a huge fan of, I have a feeling. Yes. I wonder which distillery that is, and why don't they tell you which it is? Highland Malt Blend. Does that mean it's not from an actual distillery? Interesting. Most of this is Mortlock. You got a little bit of Lafroig, probably for a little bit of char or yeah, the oils and damp earth barbecue thing. You got the Glenelgen or Glenelgin. I can't remember which one it is. Glenelgin, probably. I think it's a soft G. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't mind. Glenelgin Distillery. It's got the refill season in the recharred barrel. It's got two, and the weird thing is, it's got two from Deanston, two from Glenelgin, one from Lafroig, one from Mortlock, and one from this like mystery blend, Highland Malt. I wonder who this is. I'm really curious. So yeah, that is a different. Yeah, this is a different profile. I like the way they do the ages on this. This definitely gives you more. Wow, that's a lot of years. Those are years. How many is total on this thing? Jeez. I wish they would just give you the actual number and not make you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jesus, it's gonna take forever at this rate. Man, Telex, you need some of the older peated whiskeys that still have a punch. Don't add any young whiskey to my old Isla whiskey. Yeah, but but when you're talking about blends, that's when I'm you know what I'm saying? It's like, unless you have an older peated whiskey to blend, which I don't know if these guys are going to have that kind of access when they're doing these mass, the mass production deal. You almost have to go with the young. I don't know. I guess it depends on what they get their hands on. Wasn't yeah, Menagerie added in French oak. There is some French oak to this. It's the 16.7 on the yeah, it's just the 16.7% that is the custom French oak barrel medium to heavy toast deal that you're getting from. So the Highland blend is a blend of 3 to 4 Highlands. Okay, but they don't tell you what those are. That is kind of sketch. I would much rather know what they've got in there. Break that shit out. I've heard if you write to them that they will actually give you the information. They're really good about being completely transparent, which I give thumbs up to John Glazer on. He's a very nice guy. I met him in person, like I said. Got to kind of just shoot the shit and learned a lot. Learned how to blend whiskey for myself. One of the best hints he gave me was sometimes Kleinlich is a very good stable base, a very good foundation to whiskey. It's not really the mouth coat that it also. I mean, that's also. I mean, it's part of the greatness of Kleinlich. But what makes them also great is it's a great binder with other whiskey. It's like like an accelerant, a thickener. I'm not sure how you can say it, but it's there's lots of good reasons to use Kleinlich in your blends. Put it that way. The Highland is always in that French oak. Okay. Yeah, all the Highlands are in the French oak, right? That's the weird thing. The Highland Bin has been this close. I just don't recall it. Yeah, I mean, thankfully they're pretty good about telling you guys, what is on the menu, and if they don't have it on their sheet like this one, if you do write to them and say, hey, what is that Highland blend, they will actually give you the information. Thank goodness. Not that you're going to try to make this exactly yourself, because there's actually no way you could do it without getting these exact same, a Lafroig recharred hogshead cask. Come on. Especially that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So that's 15 on that top Mortlock. So we got a Mortlock 15, a Lafroig. We got a about the same age Deanston, a little older Deanston as well. Interesting. So we got 12s and I'm sorry, 12, 15, and we got that old Glen Elgin. It looks like probably an 18, 15. Hold on. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, 21, sorry. Glen Elgin 21. Well, that's got a lot of good age stuff in there. And another old Glen Elgin, probably an 18, yeah. It's all over the place. This is what's crazy on some of these. I thought Menagerie was blended and then put in French oak to marry like they did with Spice Tree. That's not what I'm looking at here. If you look at the recipe, it looks like that the Highland Malt blend, the three distilleries that he's talking about, which is the Glenmora, the Tomatin. Hold on. Our proprietary Highland Malt blend comprises 60% malt whiskey from Glenmora, and 25 from Tomatin, and 15 malt from Balmanac. Balmanac, yes. That's another distillery I'm trying to get a legitimate official bottling from. It's such a bitch for anything that's not crazy price. I did find a 25, but they wanted like $500 for it. I'm like, oh, that's a little too risky for a distillery I know zero about. So, coming back to that, Glenmora is okay. Tomatin, I can understand why they're using these, because these are going to be like to get a good blend of Highland distillate from. These are the cheapest possible options from this. So on a business aspect, it makes a lot of sense. So they're taking these three, and these are the three that they're doing the custom French oak barrel medium heavy toast with to get that gingerbread red apple and toasted oak from. That's the 16.7. This is the part, though, that I can see why Dustin's not a big fan of that, because, that is different. Oh, goodness. Phenomenal, just roasted, toasted, chewy raisins and oak. Well, there's a lot going on with it, but yeah, it's to me, it's a great taste. I could go back and back. I love to get I thought I got a lot of really good florals and fruit also from that, like more airy, like lighter fruits, like a fruit, like a proper quality fruit cocktail kind of thing. But I thought I read the press statement from an usher saying it was vetted after blending from Mary. I don't know, man. I'm just going by what the damn limited edition straight from Compass Box their flavor sheet says. I don't know. Natural colored, non-chill filtered, 46%, 7,741 bottles, January 2021. James Saxon's the lead whiskey maker, and it's got the thing. But the only thing about the custom French oak barrel that I see is for that Howland part, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. So 11 years on the Highland Malt blend for the custom French oak barrel deal. Oh, and vanilla cookies and, of course, apples and all kinds of Compass Box fruity notes. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Testing my new 43-inch monitor paired with an old 24-inch. God, this is nice. It does definitely pay to. Wow, he's buying another one at retail. I don't blame you, man. It's damn good. It's my favorite Compass Box I ever tried, and the ones, I'll just give you the ones that I have been lucky enough to try over the years, and I'll tell you the ones that I would go for and the ones I would pass on. The sad thing is, I just had that damn site up, and I just missed it. There we go. Whiskey makers, whiskeys. Here we go. All right. So we got Artist Blend, the Glasgow Blend. I haven't had those two, formerly known as the King Street. So I have had those, Both of them were good. Both of them were extremely well priced. 30, 35 at the time. I'm not sure if they've gone up in price, but I thought they were pretty good. Worth definitely a try. Story of the Spaniard, 43%. It is non-chill filtered natural color, which I do commend them for. It, even though the sherry's there, it just wasn't enough for me to get all excited about. I thought it was a decent bottle, but not, I didn't go crazy for it. 3.25, 3.5 out of 5. Nothing to go crazy over. Never had the oak cross. Never had the spice tree. We're going to be doing the spice tree, I think, next week or the week after, actually. I'm looking forward to that. I have had the Peat Monster. I do enjoy that whiskey. It's pretty tasty. I think it's a Kalila Ardbeg combination, if I remember. Let me look at the cheat sheet here. Kalila, Lefroy, actually, and their custom Highland blend that they like to go with. But yeah, I could see the Kalila Lefroy combination there was great. I would do that again. Peat Monster's pretty solid. Hedonism, I'm not a huge grain fan, so take that into account. So I'm not gonna like get all excited about any grain whiskey. I did prefer it than a lot of grain whiskeys because usually for me to enjoy a grain whiskey, and I'm talking North British, Cambus, Port Dundas, Invergordon, Girvan, all those guys, it's got to be at least 30 to 35 years or I'm not even going to like it. So since I like the hedonism and I don't even know what's in there, it's probably got some really old stuff or just really well done casks for me to be okay with it. Never done the Menagerie or the Magic Cask or the Festival Whiskey. Arcana, I have not done yet. We'll be doing that next week, I believe, or the week after, actually. The Hedonism Felicitas, I'm not going to get into that. Rogue's Banquet, no, never tried the Myths and Legends of the Circle. The No Name, I did enjoy a lot. Never tried the second batch, but I did like the No Name one. That's the one that had Ardbeg in it, I remember, and that was probably my favorite peated compass box. It was probably the first No Name. Affinity Transistor, never tried those. The Juveniles was okay. Didn't get all excited about it. Stranger never tried. Flaming Heart never tried. Delilah's never tried. Phenomenology we've been talking about ad nauseum. That's probably my favorite. Tobias never tried it. I'd love to try it. Spice Extravaganza we're going to do later. Double Single is another one of the grain ones that I didn't get too enthused about, and I did not like it that much. If you like grain whiskey, then maybe it might be for you. The Double Single is 72% Glen and that's a ex-bourbon hogshead recharred, and then the other one is also recharred ex-bourbon barrel, 28% from Girvan. So there you go. And that's probably why I did not like it, because I'm not a Girvan fan at all. It's probably my least favorite grain distillery out there. Enlightenment, never tried. The Circus, never tried. Esla, never tried. Luxury Whiskey, never tried. I think that's pretty much the main ones, other than the old ones that are like, I already went over the Great King and all that. The original Spaniard, I was lucky enough to have that when I was in New York when I met John. And the original Spaniard, there's only 300 bottles of that. You're probably never going to find it. That one was something special. I'm not saying it's worth aftermarket prices by any means. I don't even know if you could find it. It's pretty rare. But original Spaniard was something special. That was pretty damn good. They had some bounty hunter ones that go over in California. I've been tempted to try, but never pulled the trigger on some of those. I'm wondering have any of you guys tried some of the bounty hunter options, and have they been worth it, or was it a bust? I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to just make sure I didn't miss any other ones. There's a bunch I haven't had before, so I'll have to. If I mention that I haven't had it and I should have had it, which one should I get? Yeah, you're not going to be disappointed, I think, for that. Ooh, not as good, much more summery. The Circle. The Circle, I'll have to try that at some point. Spice Tea's best deal at $55. That's good to know. Never had the Circle sold like 20 collectible points after buying a few of the devices at $500. Oh, I'm being disappointed. I can imagine, man. That's insane. Oh, that's painful. One of the ones on the site's main page to buy. Hidden Solicitous, the Circle Phenomenology, earnable, maybe the Delilah's 25. Okay. This is good to know. This is good to know. The Hednum Felicitous, is that another grain though? Because the Hedonism Felicitas sounds like it's going to be another one. Let me, before we move off, let me go and check that out one last time to see. This is going to be underneath their archive. If you go to the very bottom under view our full archive, that's where I found, I think, or was that, maybe it was on the other page. One second. Hedonism. Oh, where was that? There we go. Felicitas. No, it's on the original page. Sorry about that. Blended grain. It is another grain whiskey. 53%. That's a good ABV. Non-chill filtered, natural color. Largest single proponent was Port Dundas Distillery. Okay. Sold out, of course. Let's see what the old fact sheet says. I love the fact sheets. Ooh. This is a newer one because they have the old oak tree legend going on here. Port Dundas is the big one. 44.1 refill sherry bet single grain. Sounds interesting. Okay. We also have the Strathclyde. I'm familiar with Strathclyde. That's another one of those rarely seen distilleries. You got North British Distillery, another grain. Okay, 15% of that. And another North British, 7.8. So you've got Strathclyde, two North British, and a Port Dundas. Interesting. Oh, man, I don't know. It's a beautiful bottle. I give them credit for that. But, man, creamy coconut intertwines with notes of caramel, vanilla, and almond. Apple and greengage at a delicious weight. With a soft finish packed with creamy toffee. Ooh, man. It sounds damn good. A light 5 micron filter, non-chill filter, natural color, 53%. 2,226 bottles from 2020. That's probably long gone, but man. Dustin's so damn picky. He's making me want to try it because if he likes it, it's probably pretty good. So the TNAs also, though, without losing money. Those Tobias and the Angels, yeah. I heard mixed reviews about that being, that's an expensive one too. Circle's about $100, just a perfect hot weather drinker. I need to get Telex some of those awesome Cubs Buck Green blends, not the regular. That's awful. I'm not sure if I would say awful, but it was not that great. Flaming Hearts, The Circus, Luxury, Enlightenment, The General, 3-year-old. Sadly, The General and the 3-year-old, and I think maybe the Enlightenment, are definitely long gone. This is not a luxury whiskey, might be as well. Tons of myths and legends all over the web, yeah. Felicitous is green, but let me tell you, once it opens up, it's the most amazing fruit cocktail nose you'll ever have to see. That sounds like a great Japanese whiskey. That could be damn good. Minuses, No Name Number 1. Didn't like the No Name Number 1. I thought it was pretty good. Stranger and Stranger Never Tried. Tobias and the Angel. I did not like the double single. The Gold Standard Never Tried. The only thing I would differ on Steven on this one is maybe the No Name Number 1, but I don't know. I love the Ardbeg profile I got out of that one, and maybe that's why I liked it so much. I got Flaming Hearts for 70. Wow, it's 125 a bottle. That's crazy. Add Burns 2015 to plus for retail, but not secondary. I'm not sure what the Burns is. A bunch of crap they pick up, they buy from Diageo that no one ever has seen or drink. Yeah, some of the So not the grain stuff per se, but some of the Glen Elgin and the Glenlossie and some of that stuff is, I wouldn't say it's crap on the phenomenology side though, man. That Glenlossie, the 21, is pretty damn good. But I'll disagree on the no name number one. I think that's pretty solid, assuming you got it less for 150. Yeah, same here. I mean, I think I got it for $100. So that was a long time ago, but I thought that was pretty decent whiskey in my opinion. But let me see something. Let me make sure it's the same one I'm thinking of. I'm pretty sure that was the one that whiskeys. Is this going to be underneath probably their classic archive crap? I'm sure. Yeah, no, it's on the bottom. Never mind. Yeah, that was 75.5%. Oh, let me make this bigger so I can actually see it. 75.5% malt whiskey made near Pure Road, Isle of Isla. That narrows it down. 75.5. Then you got 10.6 of made near Port Essig. That's Kalila. That's obvious. 13.4 made near the village of Brora, which, oh God, man. And then they got their Highland Malt blend, of course, with the 0.5% insanity. But mostly, if I remember this correctly, it was Ardbeg, Kalila. The Brora thing's throwing me off. I think it was 75 Ardbeg, 10 Kalila, 13. What was the other thing, though? What was the other one besides the Ardbeg, Kalila? We know about the Highland Blend. What was that third one? Does anybody know what that original no name had in it? A little too ashy for me. Yeah, the Ardbeg that they had in there was a very, I mean, I thought it was a good ashy one, but no name two, however, downright horrible. I can't dispute that. I never tried it, but oh, Kleinleach, that makes sense. Okay, so we've got 75% Ardbeg, glorious Ardbeg, 10% Kalila, glorious Kalila, 3% Kleinleach, the waxy, fruity, and Dustin nailed it. As soon as you see waxy, ethereal, you think Kleinleach and it's Brora, it's perfect. Oh my goodness gracious. And then you got that Highland blend to get, I guess, give it a little bit of that spice and caramel. 15-year, yeah. That was, I thought, was pretty good, but it might be maybe it was a younger Ardbeg in there. I don't know, but it, yeah. If you like the white ashtray kind of feel, then I'd say No Name was pretty damn good. But definitely, be wary of the second one. I haven't tried it. Dustin was not a fan at all, so that one you got to kind of be on your tippy toes with. All right, I need another drink. All my samples are empty now. Oh man. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I went and moved. I'm not out of whiskey, Dustin. I remember you saying that earlier. I moved a bunch of bottles way on the other side, and I put a bunch of storage, and I put a bunch over here. I moved all the Bunnahavens out, all the Kalilas, Kilkerrans, and the Lefroig and all that, and I put all the distilleries over the years that I've been kind of dabbling in. I'm going to replace a lot of these bottles with older or better representations of the distillery bottle. Now, I know older does not always mean better. Cask makes a huge difference. ABV makes a huge difference and all that. But with that said, I do want to get like a nice old distillery bottle for most of these, and I think I've accomplished a lot of them. Some of them you can't because they're too new. Like Kilhoman might have a 12-year by now, but that's really stretching it because it's not really available. With that said, most of these are pretty up there, and I'll be replacing a couple. Like I got a Dalmore 15. I would never pay retail for Dalmore at all. Do like the 18 enough to get a bottle of it. 43%, it should be 46 to 48. No coloring would be, better. No chill filtering would be better, and all that. But it's got a decent taste. I love the Macho Solemn, the casks that are in that one. It is a special, kind of a taste. With that said, though, it's definitely not worth anywhere near 220, which is what they're trying to charge for it now. Used to be around 170, and I thought that was still on the higher end, and I wouldn't even go that far. I found it for like 150, and I thought that was a little more reasonable for an 18-year Dalmore with all the craft issues that are going on. So I pulled the trigger on that one, and I'll be replacing that 15, which was dismally horrible, with at least the 18. The only other bottle of Dalmore Distillery I would even think about maybe getting, and it would have to be around 250, would maybe be the King Alexander, only because I know it's 40%, but with a drop of water, it does do magic with the casks on that. So that's a whole nother discussion. I'm definitely not the biggest fan of them by any means. But looking forward to replacing like that Glenfarclas 17 with the 25. I have had the 25 before. It's decent. It's a little sulfuric, which I've had some Deanstons that were sulfuric more than others. I'm kind of. It's funny. Like at first, that note didn't really bother me, and it still doesn't bother me per se if it's light. But if it gets to the heavy, 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 thick like sulfuric deal, then I'm kind of like, I don't want it too much. Like that Deanston 20 was heavily, heavily Oloroso, and it just was in your face sulfuric. Maybe one of the most sulfuric bottles I've ever had. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that one. But getting back to the old wall, I'm looking forward to getting the Glen Scotia 21 or 25. I can't remember which one. It might be a 21. I know they have an 18. It's a bourbon cask. It's okay. The sherry 15, I think, is much not sherry. It tastes like it should be sherry, but it's not. But the 15's got a little more sherry-esque notes going on in it. But Scappa's just got the Glosna right now. They used to have a 16. I'd love to get a Scappa 16 or older if you can get your hands on one. I've heard mixed reviews even on the old 16. Maybe if they get some 21, 25-year-old juice out at some point, that might be worth a look. But yeah, I mean, some of the old. I only put the Game of Thrones bottles up here because I didn't have any older like Royal Lochnagar's or any older Glendulans, Dalwhinnie. It's kind of hard. Minus the 15, they don't really have any older bottlings available. Blair Athol 12 is great. I'd love to get that 23. Heard it's overpriced. It's kind of the frustrating thing about collecting distillery bottles when you're starting out. But I'm right about to cross that threshold when I'm going to start getting into a lot of independent collecting, and that'll be fun. We'll definitely stick with the Aldefi, Signatory, Cadenheads, the trusted, true, dependable independent bottlings. That is that's the goal. In other words, got Perpetuum on the no name. The Perpetuum. Oh gosh. Well, for display boxes, true. I can't remember the Perpetuum. I've had it. It's not. It's nothing to seek. Yeah, it's crazy how many hedonisms and juveniles they made a compass box. There's a polo, man. Ardbeg poured in a cigarette ashtray. But yeah, it is what it is. But I'll be changing things around even more, getting some better bottles up, and I'll be looking for you guys to let me know what your favorite, offering from a particular distillery is. Like Elberfeldy. So far from Elberfeldy, the exceptional cask 20-year-old, which was not just a basic one. It was kind of like the exceptional Krgeliki 23, which is one of the best whiskeys I've had in a while. Those are the kinds that I'm looking for when it comes to these distillery ones. Might have to get a little picky and choosy when it comes to some of the higher age stuff, but that's the goal. And hope to see you guys again soon next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be doing the Deanston show on the 18th. So hope to see you guys back soon. Thumbs up if you haven't already. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. not seeing a dime for doing this, and I don't expect to. But hopefully, you guys are having as much fun as I am. And I'll see you again next week. Cheers, man. And thanks for sticking around. Really appreciate it.